3. The Death of Jesse James. Between 8 and 9 o'clock yesterday morning, Jesse James, the Missouri outlaw, before whom the deeds of Fred DeValio, Dick Turpin, and Shenderhanes dwindled into significance, was instantly killed by a boy 20 years old, named Robert Ford, at his temporary residence on the corner of 13th and Lafayette Streets in this city. In the light of all moral reasoning, the shooting was unjustifiable, but the law was vindicated, and the $10,000 reward offered by the state for the body of the brigand will doubtless go to the man who had the courage to draw a revolver on the notorious outlaw, even when his back was turned, as in this case. There is little doubt that the killing was a result of a premeditated plan formed by Robert and Charles Ford several months ago. Charles had been an accomplice of Jesse James since the 3rd of November, and entirely possessed his confidence. Robert Ford, his brother, joined Jesse near Mrs. Samuel's house, the mother of the James boys, last Friday a week ago, and accompanied Jesse and Charles to the city Sunday, March 23rd. Jesse, his wife, and 2 children moved from Kansas City, where they had lived several months until they feared their whereabouts would be suspected, to this city, arriving here November 8, 1881, coming in a wagon and accompanied by Charles Ford. They rented a house in the corner of Lafayette and 21st Streets. There they stayed 2 months, and then they secured the house number 1381 on Lafayette Street, formerly property of a councilman in Ellsbury, paying $14 a month for it and given the name of Thomas Howard. The house was a 1-story cottage, painted white with green shutters, and is romantically situated on the brow of a lofty eminence east of the city, commanding a fine view of the principal portion of the city, river, and railroads, and adapted by nature for the perilous and desperate calling of Jesse James. Just east of this house is a deep, gulch-like ravine, beyond that a broad expanse of open territory, backed by a belt of timber. The house, except for its west side, can be seen for several miles. There is a large yard attached to the cottage, and a stable where Jesse had been keeping 2 horses, which were found there this morning. Charles and Robert Ford had been occupying one of the rooms in his rear of the dwelling, and had secretly had an understanding to kill Jesse ever since last fall. Ever since the boys had been with Jesse, they had watched for an opportunity to shoot him, but he was always so heavily armed that it was impossible to draw a weapon without James seeing it. They declared that they had no idea of taking him alive, considering his undertaking suicidal. The opportunity they had long wished for came this morning. Breakfast was over, and Charlie Ford and Jesse James had been to the stable, carrying the horses preparatory to their night ride. And returning to the room where Robert Ford was, Jesse said, "It's an awful hot day," and he pulled off his coat and vest and tossed them on the bed. Then he said, "I guess I'll take off my pistols for fear somebody will see them if I walk in the yard." He unbuckled his belt, in which he carried 2 .45 revolvers, one a Smith & Wesson, the other a Colt, and laid them on the bed with his coat and vest. Then picked up a dusting brush with his intention of dusting some pictures which hung on the wall. To do so, he got on a chair. His back was now turned to the brothers, who silently stepped between Jesse and his revolvers. At a motion from Charlie, both drew their guns. Robert was quicker of the 2, and at one motion he had the long weapon to a level with his eye, and the muzzle not more than 4 feet from the back of the outlaw's head. Even in that motion, quick as thought, there was something which did not escape the acute ears of the hunted man. He made a motion as if to turn his head to ascertain the cause of the suspicious sound, but too late. The nervous pressure of the trigger, a quick flash and a sharp report, and a well-directed ball crashed through the outlaw's skull. There was no outcry, just a swaying of the body as it fell heavily backwards onto the carpet of the floor. The shot had been fatal, and all the bullets in the chambers of Charlie's revolver, so directed at Jesse's head, could no more evidently have decided the fate of the greatest bandit and freebooter that ever figured in the pages of this country's history. The ball had entered the base of the skull and made its way out through the forehead, over the left eye. It had been fired out of a Colt .45's improved pattern and silver-mounted and pearl-handled pistol presented by the dead man to his slayer only a few days before. Mrs. James was in the kitchen when the shooting was done, separated from a room in which the bloody tragedy occurred in the dining room. She heard the shot, and dropping her household duties, ran to the front room. She saw her husband lying extended on his back, his slayers, each holding his revolver in his hand, making for the fence at the rear of the house. Robert had reached the enclosure and was about in the act of scaling it when she stepped out the door and called back to him. "Robert, you've done this! Come back!" Robert answered, "I swear to God I didn't." Then they returned to where she stood. Mrs. James ran to the side of her husband and lifted up his head. Life was not yet extinct, and when she asked him if he was hurt, it seemed to her that he wanted to say something, but could not. She tried to wash the blood away that was coursing over his face from the hole in his forehead, but it seemed to her rather that the blood would come faster than she could wipe away, and in her hands Jesse James died. Charlie Ford explained to Mrs. James that the pistol had accidentally gone off. "Yes," said Miss James, "I guess it went off on purpose." Meaning, Charlie had gone back to the house and brought about 2 hats, and the 2 boys left the house. They went to the telegraph office and sent a message to Sheriff Timberlake of Clay County, to Police Commissioner Craig of Kansas, to Governor Crittenden and other officers, and then surrendered themselves to Marshal Craig, Enos Craig of St. Joseph. When the Ford boys appeared at the police station, they were told by an officer that Marshal Craig and the posse of officers had gone to the direction of the James residence, and they started after them and surrendered themselves. They accompanied the officers to the house and returned in custody of the police to the marshal's headquarters, where they were furnished with dinner, and about 3 p.m. were moved to the old circuit courtroom, where the inquest was held in the presence of an immense crowd.